what you were consuming, what you were sharing, what you were procuring was exceedingly violent. As long as there are consumers, there is a marketplace for it, and more will be made. And you were a consumer, and you were a purveyor.
As you already know, the defendant's criminal history is no criminal history except what the current case, the arrest in this case. Had this case gone to trial, the state would have proven that this case generated from Sandy Springs Police Department under a cyber tip from the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children. During that investigation, they learned that the defendant was an employee of Mount Vernon School as their chief financial operating officer. Based on the two additional cyber tips they received that were associated with an Apple account and was associated with C. James Winslow at iCloud.com. They also determined another email account, the same email account associated with the earlier cyber tip. So you have 3 cyber tips all associated with this defendant. They also discovered that their emails were going back and forth. The detectives then, as they were looking into all 3 cyber tips, they discovered that there were images of a prepossessive female child with brown hair and 2 pigtails. She's wearing knee-high blue socks. That is count 2 of the indictment. Again, these are sharing opportunities that the defendant had. Based on the review of that cyber tip, the second cyber tip, they also discovered, again, the accused defendant's work signature at the bottom of those emails. It was further noted that these emails were going back and forth with other people who were providing, they were requesting and then providing the images. All these email threads discuss sharing pictures and videos with one another. Detectives determined that the accused was an active participant in these exchanges of the emails. He admitted to receiving photographs of younger children, ages 11 to 12. He admitted to battling addiction for the last 5 to 7 years, and he further admitted that he's tried to stop and that it was a huge mistake. During the interview process and in waiving his rights, he did lie about not having any content on anything. And once the devices were obtained, that was not true. It was determined that, now he had thousands of images. Some were pornography, some were child erotica, and then there were lots that were also CSAM. So we determined there was 253 pieces that were tagged as CSAM. So in this case, Your Honor, we are requesting a global sentence of 15 years to serve 3 years with the balance on probation as to each count, and that they run concurrent.
So the first 2 counts are different from the next 8. It's not all possession. The first 2 strike me as, I think what we would have called on the federal side is publishing. So you're making it available for someone else to get. It's sort of like a gas station. Someone can come and get it. You're not pushing it out, but it's available. If I were to go to whatever collection Mr. Winslow had, I could get the image that you described in count 1 and count 2. Is that a fair description of what he was doing?
That is a fair description, but to be clear, he was also sending images through the emails.
Okay.
Which is how you got the hit from Yahoo.
Okay. So at least one of the cyber tips was because it wasn't passive distribution, as in a gas station. You can come to my station, and if you want to download, you can. It was active distribution in that there was evidence of Mr. Winslow saying, here is something, whether you asked for it or we're trading, I'm going to send you something, you send me something back. He was actually delivering it as opposed to letting someone come get it.
That's correct.
Okay. And so that's counts 1 and 2. And then 3 through 10 reflect images, videos that were in his possession, but you're not alleging that those are things that he was trafficking to other people.
That's correct.
Okay. And then I didn't realize the theft by conversion. You covered it, but that's the school phone and the school computer, using them for these illicit purposes.
Correct.
And then finally, the false statements is you told the police there's not going to be material on this device, or I didn't share, whatever it was, and that proved to be, he was very cooperative, but there was something he said after he'd been Mirandized that was materially false.
Correct.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we've heard about criminal history, none, which means then, Mr. Aurora, I can turn to you for you to share what you want to share. And I have read your materials. That doesn't mean you can't talk about them.
Right. So the reason I mentioned the 253 photos that DA mentioned is I did a whole table on as much discovery as we had on there. And a lot of it, I can't look at all the CSAM and cross-reference it. So it gave the impression then that a lot of it wasn't CSAM, but I don't know, I'll defer to them, but we tried to go through it line by line with what we had. And so I think there were 253 photos, and then 2 of the 15 hard drives actually had some pornography, some adult, and then 1 had some other stuff in it. But it was in 2 folders, but they weren't like young, sexy brown girls or anything. It was just random folders. So when you and I think about organization, this stuff, it's not like this type of that type. It was just stuff that was dumped there, and it was just sitting there and probably hadn't been opened in a while, but he had it for several
He
years.
had collected it and he put it in one place, but it's not the scary collections where it's little boy being hurt, little girl with dog. I mean, that they're literally, hey, if I look I know what's in this folder because it's descriptive and there is value to the collector of putting it in different categories.
This is just like how your iPhone photos would just sort of go down into whatever folder, albums or whatever it is. There wasn't anything specific, at least that I saw.
Okay,
And
not
when
my
you go-
iPhone photos, maybe your iPhone photos.
I learned that from the last time we talked.
Yeah.
Also, with regards to the sharing, the first 2 counts are based on sharing. He didn't just have an open portal and said, hey, come get it, I'm doing whatever. You'll see that there was a couple of talks between 1 or 2 other people as far as that goes, and that's
Okay.
why it was a distribution that they exchanged a photo or a video. That's why there's 2 counts, not more than that as far as that
Okay.
goes. The only other thing I have is his son would like to make a statement.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Can I have your name?
Christopher Gilman Winslow.
All right. Mr. Winslow, number 2, why don't you share with me what you want to share?
I would like to thank the court for allowing me to speak on behalf of my family for my father. My father is not a perfect person. Like all of us, he has made mistakes. However, my father is a loving, generous, kind, supportive, and caring person. He has dedicated his life to his family, and we are forever grateful. For nearly 3 years, my father has been cooperative and actively making an effort towards rehabilitation, displaying an intense determination to seek help and to better himself. Between therapy, support groups, daily reflection, and prayer, nothing is more important to him than personal growth and his family. I can say with no hesitation, he is deeply hurt and apologetic for the circumstances that bring us here today. And he has dedicated every waking moment of every day to regretting his mistake and improving himself and the circumstances of his family. I would also like to bring attention to the fact that my father has never been in any legal trouble and that the accusations against him are nonviolent. My father is 67 years old, my mother is 72 years old, and although my sister, her husband, and I live close and will be able to give our time and support, she will still live alone with their adopted senior dog should our father serve a sentence from the state. Our ultimate hope as a first-time offender is that he would not need to be separated from his family because we feel the rehabilitation and support he will receive from counseling programs and from us will be more effective and safer, particularly for an elder person. However, we respect the court's decision and will continue to love and support him and pray for his safety during any time he may be away from us. On a personal note, I have struggled with substance abuse issues on and off alcohol over the past 5 years. I have been to detox, rehab, and the ICU on more than one occasion. The support of my family, but particularly the support of my father, has been paramount to recovery. Both times I opened my eyes after being admitted to the hospital, my dad was the first face I saw. He was there every day to talk with me and support me, being caring, firm, supportive, loving, and being the parent and best friend he always has been. Nothing that has happened has changed or will ever change the love that we have for him. We continue to support him as much and more than he has done for us throughout our lives. We humbly ask that you take our family's love and support into consideration with regards to sentencing. I thank you again for allowing me to speak on behalf of my family.
Well, Mr. Winslow, I appreciate the steps you've taken to address your addiction. I appreciate your family's characterization of the situation as one with someone with no history, and these are nonviolent crimes. There's a different perspective on that as well. The no history is you haven't been arrested before, but in theory, you committed a crime every image you downloaded. And that is many images over many weeks and months. So it's one arrest in connection with a series of crimes. And while I hope that the truth is you never put your hands on a little kid, what you were consuming, what you were sharing, what you were procuring was exceedingly violent. I don't need to describe what the images were, but it is, by every legal definition, a crime of violence when an adult does something like that to a child. That's not you doing it, it's someone else, but there is the infection of violence in the world of CSAM collectors, because that's what those images are. They're violent, they're degrading, and we re-victimize those kids every time those images are transferred to someone else. And I say these tough words not to be condemning you. You've done what you've done, you have owned it, you've shared that truth with your family, and you're reconciling with them. But I don't want people leaving here saying, well, I was in court all afternoon and there's someone who hit someone else with a 2x4 and the judge didn't seem very upset with him and he's sending my dad, my husband off to prison. We need to never minimize the significance of the impact of CSAM on the children who are in it. As long as there are consumers, there is a marketplace for it and more will be made. And you were a consumer and you were a purveyor. And that means whether you mean it or not, there are more victims out there. And that's why we take it so seriously. You are in a relatively low risk category because you are older now. But as someone who prosecuted CSAM offenses for a decade, I saw firsthand people graduate from, I just look at the images, to, I just touched her a little bit. And that's what we need to guard against. And that's why there are, I believe appropriately, fairly severe penalties associated with getting into the field of having a predilection for looking at pictures of 6-year-old girls having adult men doing things to them. And we can't take that lightly because of the consequences it can have. And that's why we're handling this the way that the state has insisted and the way I agree. I think that your lawyer has negotiated a very reasonable sentence for you. It is a firm sentence, but appropriately so, given what was involved. I've seen worse collections. I've seen less bad collections. Mr. Aurora's other client who was here, and you're very different people in different situations, but it was 15 images that seemed almost to have been collected by happenstance, as in you're sort of surfing the web. And you move past that. This was clearly an intentional collection, and it was something in distinction with the other gentleman that you were then sharing with others. And that puts you squarely in the category of red alert, or what else is going on in this person's life. I trust your family has surrounded you with love and support, and that may help you navigate this going forward in a way that is safe for you and safe for those that are around you. But I encourage your family to lift you up in the coming weeks before you turn yourself in. Those are going to be difficult times. There were defendants in cases that I dealt with who took matters into their own hands and didn't have to deal with a sentence. They imposed the ultimate sentence on themselves. You shouldn't do that. And you need your family to help you be safe and thoughtful over the coming weeks before you come back here. Well, Mr. Winslow, I'm going to follow the joint recommendation and I'll break out the sentence individually in a minute, but I want to talk about the delayed report and give you a specific date because you need to understand what happens if you aren't here on the date and time that we're about to agree to. So today's the 20th. My proposal is that you come here on Monday, March 9th. So it's 2 weeks plus a weekend that you would report at 9 a.m. on Monday, March 9th. I'm happy to do March 6th, that Friday, but why not give you that extra weekend? Does that work?
Here, you want me to take?
No, it's here. You cannot just report to the jail. You actually come here to courtroom 8D. I have court at 9 a.m. So I'm going to be sitting right here. And you need to be here by 9 a.m. Don't dress like that. Dress in, if it's cold, wear a sweatshirt, but just sweatshirt and jeans. Don't bring belongings with you. Bring your glasses, but that's all you need to do. And be here. If you are not here, I will sign a different sentence, and it's a sentence of 15 years to serve 10, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
So you will triple plus the custodial part of your sentence if you are not here at 9 a.m. on Monday the 9th. Things happen. If you can't because you're trying, your car is broken, you let Mr. Aurora know. He knows how to reach my staff, and he will guide you into court. He will say, all right, he's now on 75 South. He's coming. Okay. But that's not the day to be late, because we will all be worried that you made a different decision and you're off to Costa Rica. I don't advise that, but just know that if it's 9:10, I haven't heard from Mr. Aurora, and we'll reach out to him. Say, hey, where's Mr. Winslow? And if he says, I don't know, then I sign a different sentence, and it's 15 years to serve 10 years. That might mean that you pass away while you're in custody, and that's not how people want things to end. So let's be here at 9 a.m. on March 9th. Okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
Excellent. So your sentence as to counts 1 through 10 is 15 years to serve 3 years with a balance probated. They'll all run concurrently with each other. Counts 11 and 12 are both 3 years to serve. Those are the theft by conversions. And then the final, is false statements a felony or a misdemeanor?
It is a felony.
Okay, that's 3 years to serve also. So they all run concurrently with each other. So the total sentence is 15 years to serve 3, exactly what your lawyer negotiated, but I have to give an individual sentence for each count. 3 years in custody followed by 12 years on probation. It'll be a special condition of your probation that you stay away from the Mount Vernon school. And then all the other conditions flow from the registry. I don't need to pronounce them because they're documents you've already signed, but all the requirements of the registry you'll need to follow, and that's part of your probation. These are parolable offenses. Given your criminal history and your age, you may well get paroled out. That's not a decision that I control. It's not anything Mr. Aurora controls. You control it the most of anyone by staying out of trouble while you're in custody. I don't think you're the kind of person who's going to make trouble while you're in custody, but just so you understand the process, it is an independent body, pardons and paroles. They'll look at the nature of your offense, your criminal history, which is 0, and how you've been doing in custody. And I suspect you'll be in the A+ category there. So it may be that you are home sooner than you think. And the good news for you is that home is still there. We get people standing right there who it's a dark on either direction. They're in, they're out, and neither one is a particularly happy situation. But you have folks who have stuck with you despite this awful situation in which you put yourself and in which you put them. And for that, you should be very, very grateful because that rock will be there while you're away from them and when you get back. Mr. Aurora, anything else on behalf of your client?
Just so the record's clear, Judge, because I don't always know if the jail gets it right. We have 61 days in credit from April 27th of 2023. He was arrested on just a couple of counts, released on April 29th, so that's 3 days. Then, of course, they rearrested him when they did that from 5/30/2023 until July 26, 2023. So it totals up 61 days.
Okay. Was that all in Fulton County?
It was all in Fulton County.
Okay. There should be an affidavit that the sheriff prepares that shows all those dates. You're entitled to credit for all of that. The appellate courts have been telling trial judges more and more to stay out of the business of saying, here's what you get credit for. But I can tell you statutorily, you get credit for all those days. Don't panic if you make landfall at Jackson. That'll be the facility you report to initially. And they say, all right, you have no credit because you have those days. And if they persist in telling you you don't, you let Mr. Aurora know and I'll sign whatever I have to sign to say, actually, there are these Fulton days. But we've been told to stay out of that. It's the custodian, sheriff, who transmits that information to the Department of Corrections. But you are certainly entitled, and I'm making it clear on the record, to each one of those days. And they matter.
And one other thing, Your Honor, if we could have unsupervised contact with people under 18 because of his family members, that would be the supervised contact. I'm sorry, I said unsupervised.
Okay.
Folks under 18 versus no contact, which is what the.
So you should have no contact with minors who are not part of your extended family. So if you're in a McDonald's and there's a 6-year-old, you don't go over and say, hey, how you doing? If you have a nephew or a niece or a grandson, as long as there is another adult in the space, it is okay for you to be in that space. So you may have supervised contact with minors who are family members. Otherwise, it's the standard rules for anyone who's registering as a sex offender. Ms. Winfrey, did you have anything else for the state?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Any questions, Mr. Winslow? I don't want you to be confused about anything we talked about.
No, Your Honor.
When will I see you next?
March 9th at 9 a.m.
It's my mom's birthday. Be there on that day, okay? Don't disappoint her.